We're going to work on the hips, and I would definitely say that this is an area for myself that I have a lot of stiffness in the hips, and I think most of us have a lot of stiffness in our hips because we're sitting way too much for what our bodies are designed to do. From driving to computer use to being stuck at home, I know what it's like. So this is a little more challenging to do these hip stretches, and I can do some more advanced stuff. I'm going to start with some simple things from this seated position here. If you're using a yoga block or some kind of pillow or blanket, the first thing we can work on is actually just bringing, we can start with the right leg up here and doing a figure 4 crossover. So I'm going to support my foot a little bit here so there's not too much pressure on my leg, and I simply can just push, and this opens up that whole area of the hip. Again, make sure that your head is lined up over your shoulders over the hips, so you're keeping all the spine in alignment here. Energy moves from the bottom of the sacrum up through the head and back and forth there. So I can just put some gentle pressure here. Now, if you do feel pain in the knee, you're pushing too far, okay? So I want you to get just a nice gentle push. Now, a little more advanced stretch, depending on how flexible or how much range of motion you have in your hip, you're able to actually, you can get your knee in here and pull the leg up. So you can pull the leg up, you're going to be stretching the outside of the hip. So I can also, instead of grabbing and putting my foot in the elbow here, we can just grab the whole leg. Now it's crucial, you don't want to pull from the foot. Okay, so you want to pull from the knee and the foot together and move this as one giant leg, which it is. So you're feeling the outside of that stretch there. Now, modification to that other one, we can just put the foot on the ground this way and stretch it out where you'll feel you're just not going to get as much of a stretch because there's not as much leverage there. So let's go back to this one. Now, the next piece, we just do simple hip circles. So I can do 3 in one direction, 3 in the next direction. Okay, lastly, I can do a couple different stretches here. The key in this more advanced position, when your spine is aligned, you're also engaging core strength. This is part of the daily movement practice. I can pull the hip straight up. I can pull it to the side, and I can also pull it across. So you're going straight, we're going outside, we're going inside. So that's for the hip. All right, so now I'm going to show some more movement things you can do on your hips, but you do need to be on a mat. So the first one we just call, this is simply a tall kneeling position. You can do 2 different things. You can have your toes underneath, and I would suggest doing both because you need to work your feet in different elements. So you can have your feet flat, or you can have your toes up, so you're working both areas of flexibility in your feet as well as the hips. Even though I'm showing you and breaking down all the different body parts, your body functions integrated. So the more I can integrate flexibility, mobility, stability with all body parts at once, the healthier your body becomes. So this tall kneeling position is important because you want to be able to, again, line up your ears with your shoulders, shoulders with your hips, hips over the knees here, squeezing both glutes, pulling the belly button in as if I have a string pulling me back here, and that's a simple tall kneeling position. Now I can increase some of my hip flexibility by dropping down into my feet here and then coming back into that tall kneeling position, squeezing the glutes. And I can also do that with my feet, my toes curled underneath, so I can drop down, get real fluid in the hips here, and come back up. And again, you can use a block here for any balance, or if you have to have a pole or anything or a wall in front of you, that'll help you tremendously. The next thing is just a kneeling lunge. So I've got my front leg at 90 degrees and my back leg at 90 degrees. Here's what's really important. It helps in the beginning to have a professional watch you doing this, whether it's a personal trainer, chiropractor, physical therapist, because what we tend to do is when we can't move one body part, we move the other. And that's because of injury or lack of flexibility. So if my hips don't move and I'm trying to stretch the front of the hip, if my hip is blocked and I can't move, I'm going to do this with my back and I'm going to arch it. So the more I arch my back like this, the more likely I am to injure my low back over time. And that happens in every movement. So the key to this movement here in stretching the hip, there's very little movements. It may be hard to see here, but you want to imagine the pelvis going underneath. Core is always tight. So imagine string pulling through the back. So you've got a tight core here. I'm squeezing this left butt cheek and I'm feeling that stretch all the way through my quadricep and even through my psoas and all my front musculature here. So I'm not arching back. Now, a way to advance this stretch, I can take my opposite arm and I can just reach it up in here, and I feel that coming all the way across my body. I can do the other arm as well and move over. Now this one I can push forward a little bit, squeeze the glute, and I get more of a stretch here. Lastly, I can move from this direction, same position, hips are gonna go underneath, core is engaged. I'm squeezing this glute, and I can rotate in the opposite direction, so I'm getting a really good stretch down that front line there. Okay, so this next one, again, each time you do these stretches, you have to be aware and make sure that things are not causing pain. Have to really be able to judge for yourself the difference between something like if it's causing shooting pain down the arm, it's a definite no-no. But this one I like, and I was even afraid of doing this one on my own, but I really like it if I'm doing a very slow movement here. But I'll start with full circle rotations for the neck. This one just wakes me up in the morning. It's fantastic. So we're gonna go chin to the chest, and then it's a full, and I like to close my eyes and again work with the breath. So I'm breathing in as I go back and then out as I go around. And I'm nice and slow, and I'll do at least 3 or 4 in both directions. I don't know if my mic is picking it up, but there's a lot of creaking and popping going on in this old neck of mine. And that is just a consequence of aging gracefully. Okay. The next one, what I would suggest also, if you close your eyes and you have a tendency to get any vertigo or dizziness, again, that's a warning sign that you need to stop this and seek a healthcare professional. But keeping your eyes open changes your whole balance mechanism. Next one simply is just a rotational range of motion. So you're gonna start center point gaze, turn as far as you can to one direction, and then the next. The more advanced stretch, you can just go too quick to the center, too quick to the left. I really like that one versus just one, because I'll get quick here, quick here. Okay. Next one is going to be a lateral range of motion, and this is just a tilt here to one side. So you're trying to touch your ear to your shoulder. If you're lifting up, you're going way too far. An advanced version of this is grabbing the side of the head, where you can feel the meaty part of your skull back here. You can stretch and bring this arm out. You may feel a little tingling coming down the arm. As long as it doesn't last, that's okay. Next one is looking down into your pocket. So if you had a pocket on the front of your shirt, I really like this one, stretches out the back of the neck. So it's a little bit of it's a flexion forward, a little bit of a rotation. And I'll also do some additional stretch here. Again, you're not going for the home run, you're not going for knockout punches here. This is slow movement, guided, easy practice. Okay, next we're gonna work on the shoulders. Again, if you have shoulder problems or issues and this is causing pain, I would avoid this and just hold off for right now. Simply, we can do shoulder circles forwards and backwards. We can do one at a time as well. This is also going to warm up the whole spine and thoracic spine. So the key though is, again, keeping a fixed point gaze, because that actually helps you stabilize the neck. And you don't have to do this real intensely, but just imagine that lacrosse ball that we used earlier for your feet. Imagine that you're trying to hold that between your chin and your chest here. So that keeps your neck packed nice and stable over the rest of the spine. First thing is just to shrug up, and you can let them drop. I love how that feels after. So I just get a big shrug, boom, just let them fall. Next, we can circle backwards, but when you're doing these circles, little ones to medium to big. So I want you to work all those ranges of motion, because your shoulder has tons of different muscles in there, and every one of them gets juiced up by doing these movements. Next, we can go forwards, and you're gonna feel awkward. It's gonna feel kind of weird. We could also go one at a time. So this one I really like because it just gives a lot of range of motion to the whole spine as well. And it's okay, like get your body fluid and get moving in this. And when you're sitting down, you're gonna feel all these different parts creaking and stuff. So, okay. Next one, we're gonna work sideways here. So this does involve the neck a little bit. We're gonna start with the hands up. We're gonna turn towards an upwards hand and then turn the other one down. So I can get a good shoulder stretch here where I'm reaching. So this works the whole spine and the neck. And then I will fluidly just turn again. Nice and slow in the neck. Good. And this is similar to the back stretch that we did, the rotational one for the thoracic spine. However, we're going to keep everything stable and just work the shoulders forwards and backwards. And I can even feel myself where I'm restricted on one side over the other, here to here. Additionally, I can work on stretching the latissimus, the lat muscle that you've heard. I like to grab the wrist here, and without bending and collapsing my whole spine here, I stay nice and upright so that the stretch comes from this part of the shoulder where it attaches to the torso here. So I'm getting a stretch here, and I'm getting a stretch here. So now we're going to work on the thoracic spine. Your thoracic spine is composed of 12 vertebrae, goes from the top of your neck all the way to the bottom. It's the biggest part of your spine, and all your ribs are attached to it. What's so important to this piece is that it not only holds your rib cage, but what's inside of there. Your lungs, liver, gallbladder, every vital organ is inside of this. So the more rigid we become here, the less our organs are functioning as good as they can function. So the more movement is life. So the more we can keep our bodies moving, the more gracefully and efficiently we will age. So there are 3 planes of motion. If you think about it in very simple terms, you can move front and back, you can move sideways to sideways, you can bend sideways, and you can twist. Okay, so I'm going to show you movements in the thoracic spine. This is my professional opinion in the last 20 years of practicing on human bodies and using my own as an experiment. The more we can create stability in the low back and stability in the neck, and the more mobility in the thoracic spine, the less pain we experience, the better movement we have, the better posture we have. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to use the shoulders as a driver for the thoracic spine. And what I mean is you're going to focus on moving the shoulders, but the thoracic spine, the middle back, will move because of that. So the first one, we can simply just raise the shoulder up and down. If you were to zoom in and take an x-ray, as I move my shoulder up, you can see my whole spine will tilt side to side. So shoulder up, and you want to keep your eyes on a fixed point. So pick a point on the wall behind you and just go side to side. Now I usually just keep my hands sitting here. You can do this standing as well. And that gets the spine warm. Okay. Next one we're going to do is rotation, frontwards or side to side. We're going to twist side to side. So I like to start, I'll reach one hand forward. So my right hand goes forward, my left hand is going to go back. And you can already feel yourself, and you can hear it in my voice, I get restricted there. So I'll find that point of restriction. I will reach my back hand back as a kickstand, and then just twist. And I don't have to go too far. So I come to the center, same thing. And usually you'll find that you're more restricted to move one way or the other. So I'll put my hand down and just get a nice little stretch there. That's it. So I've got side to side. I've got twist to twist. Now, the next one I'm going to show you a couple different views, but this one's a little more challenging. And we can, I'll show it to you front ways, and I'm going to show it to you sideways. So we're going to work on bringing the chest in. So it's almost like you're caving your whole spine together. So it looks like that. So you want to bring into a C curve here. So I like to use my shoulders and bring them forward, and I can round my whole body here, and then I'll pull back and I can arch my whole back forward. So the key is not to move as much. You want to keep your low back stabilized the whole time you're moving. So keeping your belly button pulled in. So again, it's thoracic flexion, and I'm going to breathe out. Every time I open up, I breathe in, I fill my lungs down low. I'm going to turn to the side so that you can really see this. And there's a couple different ways that we can drive this motion. Again, your shoulders are attached. Your shoulders are attached to the spine and your whole rib cage through all the muscles. So I'm going to show you some shoulder stretches separately, but here's what it looks like from the side. So when I bend my spine forward, you can see, and I've worked on this for years, so I used to be really stiff in this area. I'm still pretty stiff, but this is going to be critical for anyone, for any of you with low back pain, even neck pain. The key is to keep your eyes on a fixed point gaze. You want to feel and the shoulders will move. You can put your hands in a prayer position forwards. You want to feel the back bend and arch here, and I feel this right between my shoulder blades, that stretch, and the next one is here. So we don't want to this isn't this type of stretch where we're opening up here. Really trying to concentrate on the thoracic spine movement. It's also known as protraction and retraction. Okay, so you can put your hands out here as if you were gonna do a handstand. That's in our next workshop. So you can pull your shoulder blades, that's retraction, protraction. Okay, now I'm gonna get on all fours. You guys have probably all heard of this one is cat and cows. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is fingers are nicely placed apart. Hips are over the knees, nice and square here at 90 degrees. My hands are, wrists are right under the shoulders here. And I want to get a little bit of a rotation so that my elbow pits try to come forward. Because most of the time we're stuck in these positions here where we're on our phones or on our computers, so our shoulders are always rolled forward. So being able to bring those out is really going to open up your body and your posture here. So now I can rotate my elbows and I can get that same protraction where I'm arching my back. I can let my head just fall. This is more of a thoracic spine stretch, and I can also feel it stretch in my low back as well. The next one here, I can then just let my spine drop. I can get a little extra arch here and sticking the butt out, bringing the head up. You may have heard of these as cat-cows. All right, so now I'm gonna show you some low back movements. These are a little more challenging. I don't necessarily look like a belly dancer. I'm trying to imagine myself being a belly dancer and being able to move like that. But when I watch myself move, it doesn't move like that. So I'm trying at least. So you want to imagine you're leading with your belly button from this movement. And we're going to be doing circles. And this really is for your low back. So I want to keep my hips nice and grounded into the mat or in the floor. My legs are down stable. And I'm doing circles, and I can count. And I'm trying to get as wide and slow as possible. So you'll see all my body parts move, but most of the movement is coming from my core and my low back. And it's okay if the hips move. So when I move over to this side, I'll feel this hip stretch more. And I'll come back around and I'll feel this hip stretch. So that's okay. So now also, if you want to incorporate breath in this, it becomes a moving meditation. So every time I'm bringing the core in, I'm breathing out. So as I come around, if I go backwards and I go the other direction, I'm breathing in as I come forward. Now I use what's called an ujjayi breath. It's like when you breathe in, I'm trying to breathe in through the belly. When I breathe out, I'm trying to fog up a mirror. But I'm not even doing it through my mouth. It's coming through my nose. So it's... Now, I can add in some straight line movements here too, where I can shift my body from right to left. Some of you who may have experienced low back pain, you may have seen yourself shifted to one direction if your back seizes up. If this does cause pain, stop immediately, see a healthcare professional, call me. So that's that.